The devil controls believers not by force, but by feeding them fear, offense, and pride disguised as emotional nourishment. He understands that what you consume mentally and spiritually determines the atmosphere of your life. The enemy doesn't come with chains at first. He comes with a spoon. He offers what looks like comfort, what feels justified, what sounds reasonable. He feeds you thoughts and emotions that appear harmless, yet every bite weakens your connection to the Spirit. He knows that if he can influence your appetite, he can shape your destiny. A person ruled by their cravings, emotional, spiritual, or mental, can be guided anywhere. That is why his greatest strategy is not attack, but deception through feeding. Fear is the first meal he serves. It enters quietly, disguised as caution or concern. He feeds you news that stirs anxiety, memories that replay pain, and imaginations that magnify danger. Fear doesn't scream at you, it whispers, "What if you fail? What if God doesn't come through?" And the more you dwell on that whisper, the more you consume it. Fear begins to sit at the table of your thoughts until it becomes familiar company. The devil uses fear to control your actions because a fearful believer stops moving in faith. Faith creates. Fear paralyzes. Every time you choose fear, you surrender a portion of your authority. The devil doesn't need to stop you when he can make you stop yourself. Then he brings the second course, offense. Offense is his favorite dish because it feels like strength. When you are offended, you feel justified, powerful, even righteous. Yet offense is poison disguised as protection. It convinces you that holding on to pain keeps you safe. But in reality, it keeps you trapped. The devil feeds you reminders of what people said, what they did, how they betrayed you. He replays it in your mind until bitterness becomes part of your emotional diet. The more you chew on it, the more it shapes your heart. And when your heart becomes hardened, you block the very flow of God's Spirit. The enemy knows that an offended believer cannot love freely, cannot forgive easily, and cannot receive fully. He uses offense to disconnect you from divine communication because a bitter heart cannot hear God clearly. And then comes the dessert of destruction. Pride. Pride is sweet to the tongue but deadly to the soul. It convinces you that you are in control, that you don't need guidance, that your success belongs to your effort. The devil feeds you pride subtly, through praise, achievement, and comparison. He tells you that humility is weakness and dependence is foolishness. But pride is the most effective control mechanism he has because it isolates you from grace. Once pride takes root, the Spirit's voice grows faint, and your hunger for God fades. You begin to rely on self instead of surrender. And when you are full of yourself, there is no room left for God. This is how the devil maintains control, not by attacking your body but by feeding your soul until your spirit becomes numb. He feeds fear to your faith, offense to your love, and pride to your humility, and through these meals, he governs the minds of those who were born to rule. Spiritual freedom begins when you reject the enemy's menu and feed your soul with faith, love, and humility through the Word of God. The moment you change your spiritual diet, everything in your life begins to shift. You cannot walk in divine authority while consuming what weakens your spirit. The Word of God is not just information. It is nourishment for your inner being. Every verse, every promise, every revelation carries power to detox your soul from the poisons of fear, offense, and pride. When you feed on truth, lies lose their strength. When you feed on faith, fear loses its voice. When you feed on love, offense loses its grip. When you feed on humility, pride loses its foundation. Faith is the bread of heaven that renews your mind. The enemy thrives in environments of doubt, but faith pushes him out. When you speak the Word of God over your situation, you are not just making positive declarations, you are shifting your diet. Faith feeds your spirit with confidence in God's promises. It reminds you that your life is not at the mercy of circumstance, but under divine authority. As you consume faith daily through prayer, worship, and the Word, you grow stronger, more focused, more secure. You begin to think differently, talk differently, and act differently. Faith is not built in moments of comfort. It grows when you choose to believe even when you cannot see. Every time you say, "God, I trust you," you are feeding your spirit strength the enemy cannot steal. Love is the fruit of the Spirit that cleanses and restores your heart. It is the antidote to offense. When you feed on love, you disarm bitterness. Love enables you to see people not as enemies but as souls in need of grace. It allows you to forgive quickly and move freely. Offense thrives on replaying pain, but love thrives on releasing it. The more you practice love, the lighter your spirit becomes. Love keeps your spiritual arteries clear, allowing the presence of God to flow through you without obstruction. When your heart is filled with love, the devil cannot manipulate you through emotional wounds. He cannot use betrayal to control your reactions or disappointment to distort your perspective. Love liberates you from internal prisons and aligns your spirit with the heartbeat of heaven. Humility is the posture that invites the presence of God. It feeds your spirit by creating space for divine wisdom. Pride says, "I can do it alone." But humility says, "I depend on you, Lord." The more you humble yourself, the more heaven lifts you. Humility allows you to receive correction, accept guidance, and remain teachable. It keeps you grounded when success comes and peaceful when storms rise. Humility is the soil where faith and love grow strong. When you feed on humility, you disarm the devil's deception. You stop striving for power and start walking in grace. Spiritual freedom is not about escaping attacks. It is about staying nourished by truth, love, and surrender, until no weapon formed against you can find a place to take root.